In an upscale suburb, two young lovers build a home and family.
You're just typical couple that loved each other.
Amanda Canales, beautiful and talented.
She has never fallen short of male suitors.
Kevin Lewis, handsome and popular.
He was like the class clown. A lot of people liked him.
But one night, their home is visited by violence.
There were witnesses who reported shots fired.
Detectives are baffled.
Does someone have a grudge against her?
911, what is location of your emergency?
Everett, Washington.
That's what people are capable of.
Did you see anything, or?
I saw them run down the driveway.
And did you see a weapon?
No, I could not.
What or who had brought an end to this perfect love story?
Nice shot. How many times do you think that would be?
If I can't have control, then I need to do something to stop you.
Ari Pines meets Amanda Canales at medical school.
We just kind of clicked instantly. I loved her personality. I loved who she was as a person. Very smart, very intelligent.
At college, Ari notices the effect her friend has on men.
Amanda always got a lot of attention. She's very beautiful, and she has that personality that you kind of just cling to. She has never fallen short of male suitors.
On one night out, Amanda attracts the attention of a new suitor, 20-year-old Kevin Lewis.
He was like the class clown. He was a year ahead of me, but just a funny guy. Loud. You know, Kevin was always loud. Just smiling though, like you could hear Kevin 2 hallways down, like, oh, here he comes. What is he gonna talk about now? A sweet, gentle guy, like a big gentleman. We just clicked.
Kevin came over and he seemed like a really nice guy. He didn't beat around the bush. He said, hey, what's your name? I wanna get to know you. That really did impress me.
Ari is happy for her friend. Amanda had recently ended a long-term relationship. It had not been a good match.
Amanda's past relationship was very rocky and ended terribly. I know that she was looking for something stable and somebody who had a good head on his shoulders. And Kevin seemed to be that person for her.
Amanda Canales and Kevin Lewis progress from dating to a committed relationship.
I thought she was very beautiful, and I was really happy for him. I needed to meet this lady that has patience to deal with this class clown.
Amanda and Kevin were seen as your just typical couple that loved each other and were doing the best they could together.
It isn't long before the couple decide to take the next step.
When Amanda and Kevin got engaged, I know that she was super happy and super excited.
Then 2 weeks before the big day, Amanda tells Ari the wedding is off. Without consulting her, Kevin has made a decision which will affect them both.
They had a big argument. Amanda is very ambitious. And one thing that I thought was great for both of them in their relationship was that he was in the military and he was in the Air Force. You know, it's a very great career that you can go into and do something with and be successful. And I know that that was a big thing for her.
Without warning, Kevin has quit the Air Force.
Well, okay, well, what is he gonna do? And she says, he doesn't know. She was worried because there was no plan set. Amanda was very frustrated with Kevin. She wanted somebody with goals and dreams and aspirations.
But Kevin doesn't share her ambition.
Kevin, I couldn't really see him going places. He was just neutral. I mean, there's a saying, C's get degrees.
Amanda tells Kevin he needs to come up with a plan.
She was kind of pressuring him to figure out what the next step was. She was crying and she was upset. She wound up throwing the ring at him. He picked up the ring and said, I don't want to marry you anyways.
But a few days after the fight, the wedding is back on.
She was talking about these wedding plans still. And I said, hold on, you're still getting married? She said, well, yeah, I paid a lot of money. Okay, I think we should kind of back it up here. With everything that happened, that's not concerning to you. She said he got a job at the VA hospital as a janitor. She says, this is a good job for now, but what are you going to do? Like, what are the next steps? And he told her, nothing. And she said, what do you mean you don't want to do anything? And he said, nothing, I just want to be a janitor.
Amanda has put a lot into her big day.
They were gonna work everything out and everything was gonna be fine. And I said, I don't think that you should do this. I think that you are really looking more at the wedding instead of looking at who you're getting married to. And she just told me bluntly that she was still doing this. And I said, okay, well, I'm your best friend and I'm gonna support you.
Kevin asks Jason to be his best man.
I actually said no because I was nervous. Because with the best man, you know, you have to have a little speech. But I decided to do it anyway because I cared so much for him. And I know that he really wanted that.
The wedding was beautiful. It was beautiful.
I've never seen Kevin so nervous and excited. It was truly a different side of him that I had no clue about.
But after being pronounced man and wife, Jason notices something off between the newlyweds.
When they kissed, the kiss didn't seem right. I felt like it was a lack of passion from Kevin. I felt like it caught Amanda off guard.
Something else worries Jason. Kevin's reaction to an innocent moment.
I've seen Kevin be jealous. This was a couple of days before the wedding. And honestly, I thought he was joking. We were at his house. Amanda had walked in and said hello, and then she went to the room and he was like, don't be looking at my wife's butt. So I was shocked. I was like, what are you talking about? And it was awkward right then and there.
Kevin didn't seem to be jealous to me from the outside looking in, but I know that there were conversations and there were things that happened that Amanda would tell me as her best friend that were pretty concerning to me. I remember that there was a time where she had this bathing suit and it was cut out on the sides. This was like one of her favorite bathing suits. And I remember her giving it to me and she said, here, you can have it. I know you've always wanted this bathing suit. And I said, well, why are you giving it to me? And she said, Kevin told me that I can't wear it anymore. And I was a little confused as to why he was telling her that there were certain outfits that she couldn't wear anymore.
Despite their problems, Amanda and Kevin Lewis seem to put their differences aside and focus on the future.
It looked perfect to me. Everything looked perfect. In the pictures, you could see how happy they were.
The couple doesn't wait long before starting a family. Amanda's best friend, Ari, who lives in California, gets a call.
She was pregnant at the time. I was asking her what her plans were for childcare. And so she said, I really don't know. She said, do you know a good nanny? And I said, well, I want to move out to Seattle. I'll be your nanny. I packed up and I moved in with Kevin and Amanda and their brand new baby girl.
Over the next 3 years, 2 other children follow. With Kevin still earning low pay as a janitor, Amanda becomes the breadwinner in her marketing job.
Amanda was an amazing mother. She's very attentive, but she had a career and she had to work.
Kevin, meanwhile, appears to friends to focus on being a father.
Kevin was all about his kids. He put his kids first, very family man.
But that is not how he is perceived in the family home.
He would not clean anything up around the house. He wouldn't do any of the dishes. She would come home from a long day and the house was dirty and he'd been at home all day. And so she would come in and say, what have you done all day?
Kevin keeps the tensions in the marriage to himself.
Kevin never said anything about his marriage being a failure. He was just living a dream. He had his kids. He seemed so happy.
She felt that she was not getting back what she was giving in her marriage. And he would just say that she nagged him constantly.
Amanda copes with the disconnect in her marriage by throwing herself into caring for the children, her work, and a new pastime, salsa dancing.
Salsa dancing for Amanda was a huge outlet for her. It was a way for her to kind of escape and to not have to worry about what was going on at home, what was going on in her marriage. It was just something that she could let loose and be free. And for that moment that she was dancing, nothing else really mattered. I think that salsa gave her the confidence and the freedom to do something that was completely selfish for her. I think that helped her mentally. I think that helped her emotionally. Kevin was concerned and did not like her dancing with other men. I know he talked about other men touching her.
With Amanda spending more time salsa dancing, Kevin does appear to make an effort. He joins the salsa class.
He's actually trying to do something that you enjoy and is important to you, and he's trying to be a part of it. To me, that seemed promising.
But seeing his wife in the arms of other men does not sit well with Kevin.
And I think that after that, it was definitely a decline for their marriage. And I think that was a beginning point for her to say that I don't really need this marriage anymore. It kind of got to the point where I think she was done trying. And I remember on my bachelorette party, she was crying. And so I'm like, what is going on here? Why are you crying at my bachelorette party? What is going on? And she just tearfully told me, I think my marriage is over.
Amanda tells her husband of 8 years she wants a divorce.
She told him that she wanted to move out and she wanted to separate. Kevin questioned her as to why. And I know that he asked to see her phone and she said no. I know that they got into a pretty big argument and a physical altercation from that.
He punched her and caused a severe swollen and black eye and injury to her teeth.
Amanda goes public with what her husband has done.
I was looking on my Facebook and I just saw these images of Amanda and she looked all bruised up and bandaged. So I was like, what is this? I messaged her. I said, hey, what's going on? And that's when she told me that Kevin laid hands on her and it's like a big domestic dispute. The images portray a lot, he really put in work to hurt her.
You could visibly see her face was swollen. And so she told me that Kevin essentially punched her in the face and assaulted her pretty bad as she was trying to leave the house.
I felt pissed off, to be honest with you, because I could never see that happening. My feelings for Kevin did change, instantly. I lost a brother.
Amanda moved out. Throughout that duration, I believe she moved 3 times. I know it was very tough for her because at one point she and her kids moved into a shelter and she was very worried about Kevin finding out where they were going to live and where they were at.
By moving from house to house, Amanda keeps Kevin from seeing her and the children. But over the following months, Kevin does appear to move on.
When Amanda and Kevin were separated, Amanda was aware that Kevin was dating other people. She felt it was safe to tell Kevin she too was dating.
When Kevin found out that she was dating, he was very upset.
That wasn't acceptable to Kevin because he made a death threat to her. Either you come home now, and she says, or else what? He says, or else I'll get the kids, I'll get alimony, and I'll effing kill you. That is a landmark moment. That is where a person is losing control.
Amanda is now living in a new home with the children. She has help with the 3 under 5-year-olds.
There was another individual in the home, which was the live-in nanny, Abigail Ruggles.
She allows Kevin, who is no longer behaving threateningly toward her, to visit their children, so he knows where she lives.
That was a very dangerous time because that started a 4-day meltdown. That starts when Kevin goes to her house and is knocking on the door. He goes there when Amanda's boyfriend's there. The boyfriend arms himself with a knife because he's afraid of Kevin outside. The police are called. And then just a day or two later, after coming home from dance practice, Amanda is assaulted in her driveway and is severely beaten.
The incident that happened in the driveway was an ambush-style attack when Amanda was getting out of her car, where she is struck almost immediately upon opening the door as she's trying to get out.
She was assaulted really badly. And so I think after that point, she knew that it was escalating.
She believed it was Kevin.
In the days after the attack, police can find no evidence to bring a charge. A week after the attack, Kevin visits Amanda unannounced and repeats his threat.
He told her that if he didn't get the kids and he didn't get child support and spousal support from her, that he would kill her.
Amanda files for a protection order. She wants full custody of the children and to prevent Kevin from seeing them at all. A court imposes the protection order, but allows Kevin supervised visits to his children. He is ordered to pay $285 per visit and is soon running short of cash.
There was a concern for cash flow. He had taken in his roommate because of getting more money for rent and then being able to meet his bills.
Despite the protection order, Amanda is fearful. In letters to her, Kevin talks of how he wants to be back with his family. Amanda warns he won't be allowed to see the children at all if he is responsible for the attack that she suffered. He gets angry.
Amanda was very scared. He came to the house unannounced. He was banging on all the windows and the doors and was trying to get in the house. And she had to call the cops. She said that that was the scaredest she had ever been, because when the cops came, Kevin's demeanor completely changed. He just seemed completely normal. And so it was a scary time.
Amanda, always busy at work, has her live-in nanny Abigail to look after the children. She often calls on her younger sister Alicia, too. Alicia, 10 years younger, is happy to help.
She had recently been married. She was known as Auntie Punky to her family. She loved to be with the kids, and the kids clearly loved to be with her.
Alicia, newly married, is getting in practice looking after children.
They were trying for a baby, and we had taken all of the kids and my daughter as well. We went to a museum, and she was talking about how she couldn't wait to have her own little baby. It was like the happiest time of her life.
On the evening of September 20th, Alicia is at Amanda's home with the nanny, Abigail Ruggles. Then, in the middle of the night, Abigail is awoken.
What we know is that Abigail Ruggles was awakened by the sound of the gunshots.
911, what is location of your emergency?
Everett, Washington.
A woman had been shot and was still lying immediately inside the closed front door of the residence.
She fell on the stairs and shot herself.
Okay, she fell on the stairs and did what?
And shot herself. And she is lying in her own blood. And I don't know if I should turn her or not.
A few doors down, another call to 911.
There were witnesses who reported shots fired. There were multiple 911 calls for shots fired in the neighborhood.
Did you see anything, or?
I saw them run down the driveway.
And did you see a weapon?
No, I could not.
The neighbor at the duplex saw a person running away immediately after the shooting.
Inside the home of Amanda Canales, the nanny, frantic as she speaks with emergency services.
Do you know how long she's been laying there?
At least 30 seconds, maybe a minute. I called as soon as I gathered my senses.
Where did she shoot herself at, do you know?
I don't know. I really don't. Oh my God.
The scene and the victim's injuries are horrific.
Multiple gunshot wounds in her chest, 2 gunshot wounds to her head. None of the gunshots were immediately fatal. The cause of death was a loss of blood and an inability to breathe. So she died just inside the front door, laying on the floor.
Is anybody else in the house with you?
There are 3 kids with me.
Abigail tells the 911 operator the identity of the woman lying at her feet.
Alicia McGuire.
Alicia, you said?
Yes.
How old is she?
In her 20s, maybe 25.
But she's unconscious, correct?
Yeah, she's laying face down in her own blood.
Amanda's sister is dead.
Oh my God.
When Punky was killed, I was terrified.
3,000 miles away in New York, Amanda is on a business trip, unaware of the events unfolding back home.
It's been a while. I was in the middle of this meeting and I saw a call from my dad and I ignored it. And then he called again and then he called a 3rd time. And I was like, well, that usually doesn't happen. Like, he's really trying to get a hold of me. So I picked up the phone and I can hear in his voice something was wrong right away. The way he said Amanda. And he said, he killed her. He killed Punky. Exact words, I can hear it. Like, it was 5 minutes ago. And I don't really remember, but I guess I fell to the floor and just screamed.
Amanda Canales has been told her sister is dead. Shot at Amanda's home while helping care for her 3 children.
I didn't know what happened to my kids. I didn't know if they were okay, where they were, who they were with, anything, what they saw. So many different things going through my mind.
Her first suspicions are that it was Kevin, but she can't believe it.
I thought he was angry and just wanted to hurt me and get it out of his system. I didn't, think he would actually go through with trying to kill me.
But Amanda's suspicions aren't enough to make a case. Detectives need evidence and so investigate alternative angles about who might want to kill Alicia Canales McGuire.
She didn't live there, so how has it come to be that she answers the door in the middle of the night and she's the one that shot Dad? Does someone have a grudge against her? Does someone have some reason to do harm to Alicia?
All indications were that she had a happy marriage. She and her new husband were trying to have a child.
What if this was a crazy person? What if it was somebody that she made upset? Or it just nothing. It's like, no, that's not possible.
Alicia Canales didn't appear to have anyone that was going to have an issue with her.
There was no information to lead us believe that anybody wanted to harm her, let alone kill her.
But this doesn't look like a random attack either.
It didn't appear that there was a break-in. There was nothing missing from the residence.
The evidence at this scene had all the earmarks of a predetermined ambush.
Amanda is sure she was the intended target.
My sister and I look a lot alike. We do have really similar features. Long dark hair, similar eyes and smile and complexion.
We all knew it was him. Family, friends, we all knew. Everything that happened to Amanda leading up to it was a telltale sign that it was him.
Those bullets were meant for me.
Investigators are also convinced it was Kevin, but quickly discover he could not have pulled the trigger.
Officers were sent to Kevin Lewis's house to check to see if his car was there and to see if the car was warm or cold if it had been running that night. Kevin's car had dew on it and did not appear to have been driven recently.
A surveillance camera backs up his claim that he is at home at the precise moment Alicia is shot. He says he's been alone through the night, but he is not telling the truth.
It showed somebody did arrive at his residence at roughly 1:10 in the morning, and a person leaving Kevin's residence from the front door wearing what appeared to be the same clothing that Kevin wore when the detectives interviewed him, got into that car and then left. And then the car returned later on, and the person who appeared to be Kevin Lewis got out. There were two inconsistencies in what Kevin told us. One, he did have visitors, and two, it appeared he did leave his residence. But that created another issue. It appeared Kevin was home when the murder occurred.
So here's the problem. If Mr. Lewis isn't there when the shots are fired, how does this crime get carried out? They didn't have a ton of information. They had their suspicions, obviously, but they didn't have anything that was really going to back up a reasonable decision to place Mr. Lewis under arrest.
I was very concerned that Kevin was involved with this murder, and I was very frustrated that I had no evidence. I had suspicion, no probable cause for arrest, and certainly no probable cause to write any search warrants for anything to investigate his private affairs.
Weeks turn into months, and there is still no breakthrough in the hunt for Alicia's killer.
No solid leads were made. It became very frustrating very quickly.
They kept looking for connections. They looked at Facebook, they looked at social media, they looked at all sorts of avenues to be able to try and figure out how did this happen, who was involved. But we had nothing. We had absolutely nowhere to go.
The more time that went by after the murder, it started to feel more and more hopeless.
With Kevin free but still suspected of some involvement in the murder of her sister, Amanda fears for her and the children's lives.
He's still just out living his life, so I'm still a target, so I have to watch my back. Everybody was on edge. I didn't know, are the kids in danger?
I was very concerned that Amanda could be targeted yet again.
I was very worried because I worked with him. We worked at the same place at the VA hospital in Seattle. There were times where I would be transporting a patient up and I would see him. He just looked like he was going about his day, doing his thing, having his headphones in, walking around, looked completely normal.
Almost a year after Alicia's murder, finally, a breakthrough. Police get a tip-off, a phone call from two teenage girls, but the call proves Kevin Lewis is not the shooter.
They talked about this pool party they had been at where a girl had spoken about participating in a murder in Everett. We learned there was a young lady who had talked about having committed this murder, but she provided very unique details. Said that she had been hired to go to this residence in Everett and that shots were fired and that she had been promised $10,000, but only $2,000 was paid.
Police track the woman down.
We learned her name was Alexis Hale and that she was a chronic runaway from Belen, New Mexico.
She had been using an alias. In fact, many people didn't even know her real name, and it was only through different pieces of the puzzle that law enforcement was able to finally connect who her real identity was.
16-year-old Alexis Hale is brought in for questioning.
I would still like a lawyer if it is needed.
Okay, do you want one now?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and sign that then. And what is your address, please?
Alexis insists she didn't pull the trigger, but says she knows who did.
That was the first mention of the name Jaredon Phelps.
It was her boyfriend, 18-year-old Jaredon, known as Jay Phelps on social media, where he has a large following.
Jay Phelps and Alexis Hale was that it was a fairly short relationship, about a month long. It started just 2 or 3 weeks prior to the murder. They connected the way most kids do nowadays, via social media. I could follow their Snapchat messages and see what they talked about. You could see the evolution of their relationship.
But why would Jaredon want to kill Alicia? Police arrest him. They follow one theory, that this was a gangland hit.
What I learned about Jaredon Phelps was that he was a busboy. He liked to listen to music. He liked to dance. He seemed to be a fairly happy-go-lucky kind of guy. I did not see the signs that I would see from a gangster. I didn't see the gang life. There was no evidence of that.
You know I'm not lying. You know I'm not just fishing. And there's a lot more.
A search through his Facebook page and research on his friends uncovers something else.
When we first got the name Jaredon Phelps, we did a lot of digging to try to figure out who he was. And we learned that Jaredon Phelps is actually Kevin Lewis's cousin. That became the epiphany. That became the moment that we did have a connection there. How likely is it that this girl, Alexis Hale, is going to be talking about a murder committed on York Road with Jaredon Phelps, and it turns out to be Kevin Lewis's cousin?
As Spokane detectives make their case to charge Alexis Hale and Jaredon Phelps with murder, a breakthrough on who was behind the June 21st, 2017 attack on Amanda. A witness has remembered seeing Kevin that night near the scene.
Kevin showed up on his bicycle wearing dark clothing in the parking lot of a casino just a few blocks away from Amanda's house. That proved to be a very important observation, and ultimately Kevin was convicted of that assault.
Kevin is sentenced to 39 months behind bars.
Okay, so what did you do at that point?
With Kevin locked up, police now present the evidence linking Jaredon Phelps to his cousin Kevin. He now admits the whole truth. Jaredon was hired by Kevin to kill Amanda for $2,400.
He said Kevin approached him and asked if he knew of any OGs. An OG is an original gangster. It's somebody who has been involved in the criminal world for a while. Jay said that he looked for those kind of people, but was told that's not enough money. And that's when Jay said, I think I'll do it.
Kevin Lewis made a decision that he wanted his kids back, that he wanted Amanda out of the picture.
But his chosen hitman has no gun. It is Alexis Hale who supplies Jaredon with a weapon.
I found pictures of Alexis posing in a bathroom mirror, pointing the gun into the mirror, taking selfies.
Detectives piece together the events of the night. They have collected security footage from Kevin's neighborhood.
Jay's car is seen on video rolling up to Kevin's house at about 1:10 in the morning on September 20th. The car parks out front, it stays running, the lights stay on. The person believed to be Kevin comes out of the front door of the residence, walks up to the car. There is no conversation. He just gets in.
Jaredon tells police the trio then drove to Amanda's house.
But when I initially took Kevin here, he just showed me where the house was, and I turned around and I was taking him back to his home.
Kevin indicated not only the duplex where Amanda's residence was, but also which side of the duplex. At some point, Kevin showed both Jay and Alexis a photograph of Amanda and said, "This is her."
Jaredon and Alexis then drop Kevin back at home before returning to Amanda's.
What do you remember about this driveway?
I remember walking on the left side over there, walked up by that blue truck up there. I had my back to the garage. She knocked again.
Alexis was the one who went up to the front door and knocked on the door. They heard somebody coming, and as the door is being opened, Alexis backs off and steps out of the way. Alicia is drawn to Alexis. She's saying, "What the heck? What the hell?" Jay said he stepped around the corner and began firing immediately. He wasn't even sure how many shots he had fired. He said after that, both he and Alexis ran from the front door.
And did you close the door, or did you just run at that point?
I ran.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
Everett, Washington.
It was so hard to believe. I just thought he was an I didn't think he could be a murderer, that he would want me dead, that he could do that to his kids. Like if it was just the kids and I that were home and they find me on the floor in a pool of blood and he didn't care about that. It blew my mind.
Kevin is still serving time for the assault on Amanda. Can investigators prove he is also guilty of murder?
The trial started in October of 2021 and it lasted for approximately 5 weeks.
Alexis Hale and Jaredon Phelps plead guilty to murder.
Alexis Hale at her sentencing was very emotional. She was sentenced to 15 years. She was sorry for what had occurred. I will let anyone draw their own conclusions about that level of remorse.
While Alexis seems to have committed murder to improve her street cred, for Jaredon, it is about the money.
We had a lot of social media that would indicate that he was driven by money, struggling in some ways to make ends meet. And I think he even said himself that $2,400 was a lot of money to him at the time. He pleaded guilty to aggravated first-degree murder with a firearm. He was sentenced to between 31 and 32 years in prison.
Kevin Lewis pleads not guilty, arguing he never told Jaredon to kill, but police don't buy it.
No, he did not pull the trigger. No, he was not there at the time of the homicide. But every aspect of this case happened because he was the person who caused it to happen.
He became the puppet master.
After hearing all the evidence, the jury takes just 3 hours to find Kevin guilty.
Kevin Lewis was found guilty of aggravated first-degree murder with a firearm, aggravated circumstances, and he was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
I think Kevin was motivated by power. He wanted the last of everything, the last laugh, just his way or no way.
That's what people are capable of. That is that dark place that some people are willing to go. Fortunately, we were able to get Kevin off the street so another poor person can't be manipulated and abused.
For Amanda, she must face life without her beloved sister, ever knowing it could have been her.
Turn and face the storm.
I don't feel lucky.
Look back where your path is worn.
I'm glad that I'm here because I want to be a mom to my kids, but I don't feel lucky with any of this. The amount of money that was paid was not only shocking, but really upsetting. Like, that's what my life was worth. $2,400, like that's not even a month's rent. Like that's a cheap used car. That's equivalent to a life.
But what shocks Amanda most is that she never saw this coming.
I don't know if I married an evil person or if he became an evil person. 10 years we were together. He never was physically violent. He never yelled. He never lost his temper. I mean, we wouldn't really argue even.
I don't think Kevin was always a monster, but in time he became one.
A monster who set a series of events in place which will claim the life of an innocent woman caught in the crossfire of a failed marriage.
Pull away a thorn. My heart bleeds, my skin is torn.
I struggle with guilt because this is my problem. This is a person that I brought into our lives that ends up killing my sister when she was trying to help me. She was at my house, you know, babysitting. And those bullets were meant for me. It's really unfair that she had to take that fall for me. If I could say anything to my sister, I would say that I'm sorry. And thank you. And I miss you. And I love you.